YouTube, what is going on? Crowder here, and if you are new to this channel or just don't really know who I am a ex-world champion Call of Duty pro player. I competed in the World Series of Warzone, and I am now the head coach of Atlanta FaZe, the professional Call of Duty League, or the CDL as they call it. And I'm here to give you the best controller settings, the best aim settings, the best movement settings, and of course, the best graphics settings. Max out your FPS, have the least amount of latency, and everything of that sort. Let's get into it. And right before we get into the best graphic settings and the max FPS and all of the good stuff that you want, I want to let you guys know that I have teamed up with FPSHub to get the best settings for max FPS, the least amount of latency, and so many other things. If you don't know what FPSHub is, you can go to fpshub.org and check out their website. You can do anything from audio optimizations to internet settings to PC optimizations, and to make sure that that beautiful PC that you just spent all that money on is properly optimized so it has a longer lifespan. It can be running at better speeds and everything that you need, but also keeping it cooler for a longer lifespan and anything else that you guys need. This company is the best in the business, in my opinion, and that is why I am partnered up. You can use code Crowder at checkout for a discount. And now with that being said, let's get into this video and show you the best graphic settings. And starting with the graphic settings, I'm going to be giving you all the graphic settings in game, and then I'm going to show you something that you can do on your PC, and then the NVIDIA control panel, and some other things as well. So make sure you stay tuned, because those are really, really important as well. On top of that, if you haven't ever had your PC optimized, which I recommend doing, of course. But so starting with display settings, you're going to see here that we are on full screen exclusive. We are playing at 1440p, 240 hertz, and we're just going to scroll through this. Nothing too crazy here. NVIDIA reflex low latency, we have on plus boost, and then as you scroll down, you're just going to see the rest of these. This is nothing too crazy. Just make sure that you have your right refresh rate. If you have a 240 hertz monitor, you should be playing on that. And of course, your display resolution is also very important, whatever monitor or TV that you are playing on. Going over to the quality, it's going to be the same thing. Graphics preset's going to be custom. We're going to have our render resolution at 100, which makes it 1440p for me. And then as we're going down here, you're going to see the fidelity cast. I have that as 90 strength. And then you can see everything else that we kind of have under this category. The variable rate shading, you are supposed to be keeping that on for more FPS. Personally, I like the way my game looks without it. And I think the amount of FPS that I'm getting currently anyway is more than enough, so I'm completely fine with having that off. For some reason, I just don't really love the way it makes the game look for me. So that is more of a personal preference. Depending on if you really want the max FPS, I would turn that on. You're going to see that again, we have the texture resolution and basically everything very, very low for the max amount of FPS. Now, if you have a very good build, you can mess with some of these settings and turn the textures on a little bit higher and the shaders and all that, but of course you're going to lose some FPS. So right now, I just want to go for the max FPS and see how smooth this game can be, especially when you're playing Warzone compared to multiplayer. I feel like you want to have the smoothest experience, especially with the bigger map, and usually you kind of have more frames in multiplayer, at least I usually do, compared to Warzone. So I'm trying to get the max FPS while we're playing all the new Warzone stuff. So we're going to scroll through. Everything is basically very, very low. Bullet impacts I usually have on since I'm a content creator and we're doing a bunch of testing for recoils. So I'm going to turn that on, and then you're going to go through the rest of this right here. Show more for the on-demand texture streaming so you can see that, and then just keep scrolling through. So that is what we're basically doing right now. Everything is low and off. It's pretty, common sense at this point, but just in case you guys want an exact replica of what I'm rocking, that's what I would be doing in game for the max FPS. And then we scroll over to the view, and now field of view is where this gets a little bit weird. So in Warzone, the wider the FOV that you have, I know a lot of you guys probably know this, but for the newcomers, maybe you don't. The wider the FOV you have, the less visual recoil you are going to have, but it's going to be a little bit harder to see your opponents, and it's going to be a little bit weird. So the reason why I am on 105 FOV is because I'm going to be playing multiplayer ranked a lot, and I'm also going to be playing Warzone a lot. I'm going to be doing the best of both worlds. I'm going to be iridescent in both ranked plays, and also right now I am the 5th man of my Atlanta FaZe roster, so I have to keep up with multiplayer this year just in case I have to do an emergency sub in. I don't get absolutely waxed. I'm still going to get waxed most likely, but you know what I'm saying. So 105 is like the middle ground for me between the two. If I was only playing Warzone, I would probably recommend 110 FOV is that sweet spot of really good visual recoil, but really good wide FOV. You feel like you're cracked out, but you can still kind of get into the action. And then of course, if you're super cracked, you only really care about feeling like you're moving fast and having the least amount of visual recoil and just looking super demon-like, you could play on 120. So this is going to be a lot of personal preference. Right now, I'm sticking to 105. I might go up to 110 when I play Warzone and then back down to 105 on multi. I'm not too sure yet. And then as we scroll through here, I have the ADS field of view is affected. This is a very big setting. If you do not have this on affected and you are playing Warzone, you are faded. I don't know how anyone can play on anything else personally. The zoom in is just going to add a lot of visual recoil, and the way Warzone works, and especially if you play on a wider FOV, that zoom in is really, really rough. You can get away with it more in multiplayer with a lower FOV, but I really recommend trying Affected out. And if you don't like it at first, I really highly recommend trying to get used to it for the visual recoil and all that stuff. But as we scroll down the weapon field, the view is going to be wide. And then these settings down here are going to be very important. You want world motion blur off and then weapon motion blur off. You do not want any of those motion blurs. And then the first person camera movement, make sure that it is at least 50% because it's going to be default at 100% for absolutely no reason. And then for the third persons, we have that, and then inverted flashbang we are going to have on. So that is going to be the in-game graphic settings. Okay, so now for the NVIDIA control panel settings, I'm just going to run through some of these that you can just obviously, you know, kind of copy and paste if you want to. I teamed up with FPSHub and I have all the stuff that they kind of set me up with, and my PC has been running really smooth ever since. And then I'm going to give you some Windows settings and stuff like that as well, just to run through, just to make sure you guys have the right stuff too, because honestly, I learned a lot when I was working with them and all that, so I want to pass along the information to you. And with that being said, you're going to go to your NVIDIA control panel, you're going to go to manage 3D settings, and you're going to go through this bar right here. I'm going to scroll through this slowly for you so you can kind of see, but you're going to see off to start the first 4, and then gamma correction you're going to have on, and then I'm just going to scroll through the rest of this so you can obviously just see what you kind of need to do. This is a nice slow scroll, and you can see the low latency mode. Make sure that is on, guys. Very important. Power management mode, you want prefer maximum performance. And then we're going to keep going through this right here, and you can see everything that you kind of need to know right there for your NVIDIA control panel. And then if you go over here to display and you go to adjust desktop color settings, I have my digital vibrance at 70. I actually recommend making it a little bit more vibrant. Some people think 70 is a little bit too much. I actually kind of love it, but of course you could do 65, 60, whatever your preference here is. Anything a little bit higher than 50, I just think it makes the colors a little bit more vibrant, obviously, but in general, Call of Duty can kind of use that sometimes. So personally, I like the way it makes my game look. So we're rocking at digital vibrance at 70%. All right, and then the next thing, what you're going to do is you're going to go down to your Windows bar. You're going to search in game mode. This is going to pop up, and you want to make sure that you have your game mode on. And then after that, you are going to go to your search bar again, and you're going to type in power, and then you are going to go to choose a power plan. You want to make sure your preferred power plan is going to be basically the highest of whatever you can do. Mine is set to ultimate performance. And another setting I want you guys to change is type in graphics into the search bar. You get your graphic settings right here. You click change default graphic settings, and just make sure that you will have hardware accelerated GPU scheduling on, and then optimize for windowed games off, and make sure that is going to be looking like that. And the last thing when it comes to Windows settings or anything graphic settings for you is I'm going to show you is this tweet right here from Merc Tweaks from the FPSHub themselves. And basically what this is explaining, and the download link here, this will be in the description below, is you can download their config file, which is going to be the most optimized settings for Warzone if obviously you want to be a little bit lazy about it, or just make sure you have everything that they are offering for the best settings that you can possibly have, obviously, for performance. So it's going to say download the 4S.1.0 COD 24 files from this link. You go to documents, you go to Call of Duty, you go to players, you delete the 4 files that are going to have this. It's very simple. I'll show you in a second. And then you're going to paste the ones that you downloaded in there. So what you want to do is go to your documents. You want to go to your Call of Duty game. You want to go to players. And then what they were saying to do is you scroll all the way down. You're going to see these 4 files right here. If you do this method, all you have to do is download the ones that are in that link or in the description below. You can download them, extract them to a folder, just so you obviously have those 4. You would delete these 4, and then you would copy and paste the 4 from that file. Again, if you don't want to do all of that, you don't really have to, but I just wanted to give you guys that option as well, because again, the FPSHub is trying to make it as easy as possible for you guys to have the best performance on your PC. So that is the graphic settings. Now let's move on to the fun stuff, such as controller settings. All right, here we are. We are on the controller settings in the game now, and we're back at it. Controller is going to be our aiming input device. And as we go through, we're going to go through some stuff. So it says button layout default, but if you click it, it actually says tactical. I personally play on tactical, which just means that I'm going to be sliding and crouching and laying down with my right stick, and then my circle button or my back right button is going to be my melee. So I play on tactical. I don't know why it says default like that. And then as I scroll through, now I've played on a bunch of different sensitivities. I played a lot of Black Ops 6 before Warzone came out to kind of master the game, so I can kind of get these Warzone settings and everything to you guys. I have found that playing Warzone, I was on a higher sensitivity in multiplayer, but playing Warzone with the amount of people that are still throwing smokes, and just how Warzone kind of is, you lose a lot of aim assist as a controller player in those smokes. So the higher sensitivities for me were kind of just not feeling really good. So I went back down to 7.7, and now any pro player that you kind of see in the CDL is going to play on a sensitivity from 6.6 to around 8.8 or 9.9, or again, maybe 9.7. You could do the lower vertical stick sensitivity if you want, and then obviously the higher horizontal sensitivity, you know, kind of swipe back and forth. But I think 7.7 is kind of just perfect for me. Again, I would try out your sensitivities and just see where you kind of go from there. If you guys would be interested on kind of a video of how to find the best sensitivity or how to warm up or really kind of how to train your aim a little bit more than just an aim guide, let me know in the comments below. But that's what we're rocking right now for that. And then as we scroll through, I do not play on flipped. I normally do on a PS4 controller, but I just switched back to my PS5 Crowder controller right here. You can actually purchase this controller on battlebeavercustoms.com. And if you go to the soft touch hydro drip controller shells, that's the Crowder controller right there. You can also use code Crowder. But regardless, this is not a Battle Beaver sponsored video, but it was just something cool to plug. And yeah, so I don't like playing flipped with the PS5 controller. I just can't do it. I play on L2, R2 for my shoot and aim in. And now scrolling down, the rest of this is going to be the important stuff. The dead zones. I'm going to explain these dead zones. I've done this a bunch of times on the channel, but of course, for anyone that is new, I like to redo this every single time because this is probably the most important setting in your controller settings. So you look at these dead zones and you ask yourself, really, what is a dead zone or what the hell am I doing? Normally, the dead zones are going to default at 10 if I remember correctly. So what that means is if I go to my left stick minimum and I put it at 10, you're going to notice one thing, and that one thing is there's a little red ring that kind of goes around this left stick right here. So if I click test stick dead zone right now and I move this, basically that red ring around right here, that means I have to get the left stick to right there to actually get it to register. So there's going to be a slight delay in my controller if I have a higher dead zone. Now, certain controllers are going to have stick drift, and then if you have too low of a dead zone, your left stick will kind of whack out because it will be moving on its own because the sensor and the controller and everything is not really properly aligned with the dead zone that you have. So you want to find the best dead zone. Some people don't really care about stick drift as well, but your left stick is a very important stick because it is going to control your movement. With that being said, you want to have the least amount of left stick minimum dead zone that you can have. So you notice that I had mine on 0 because I want to respond as fast as possible. Movement, omni movement in Black Ops 6 and Warzone is so important. So you want to have that smooth feeling while you're playing that game and that lack of delay. I would recommend starting at 0, and if your controller can actually handle that and it is easy and there's no stick drift, you keep it. Then you go up to 1. If there was stick drift, you go up to 1 and then you try it again, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then so on and so forth until you find that perfect dead zone for you. I wouldn't recommend anything higher than like 5 or 6 on the left stick minimum. That's still pretty high. If you get to that point, you might need a new controller. That is besides the point. So again, the lowest stick minimum as possible on that left. And now the left stick maximum is also a very underrated setting that I've explained on this channel before. Now the default left stick maximum is going to be 99, just like you can see down there on the right stick maximum at 99 as well. So that's going to bring this red ring all the way up here. So in order to hit the maximum speed of my left stick, I have to get this left stick all the way to the edge of my controller, which is going to be a longer and more delayed of a response to get to that max speed when you're strafing, when you're trying to get that tactical sprint, or just move as fast as you possibly can. So when you were playing the game, you kind of want to lower this left stick maximum, but with the same exact kind of thing that I just said with the left stick minimum. You don't want to go too low because your controller will whack out, and some controllers can't handle it. I would say try around 75 to start. That's probably the sweet spot. This is still a really good maximum. I play at 65 right now, and it's not really messed up my controller at all. I have not really tried lower. The last time I tried lower was on a different controller at like 50, and it was just not working. So 65 is where I'm at, and if you want to see now, basically instead of having to get all the way to the edge of the controller, as I get to 65 right there, I am going to be at full speed. So my strafes are going to register faster, my tac sprint's going to get there faster, and it's just going to feel less delayed and a lot more smooth. So I recommend really looking into these dead zones when you're playing controller to get the best settings for your movement. Now moving over to the right stick minimum, this is going to be a little bit different, but nothing too crazy. It's going to be the same exact concept that I just taught you about the left stick, but with the right stick, you want to make sure that it is not too responsive where you're almost like kind of over aiming yourself, or you're just like kind of just not really working with your dead zone too much. Now, some people don't care about stick drift, and some people don't really care about having that. They just want the most responsive aim as possible because that's just kind of how it works for them. There are also some professional players that play at a right stick minimum at 3 or 4 and even sometimes 5 where you can get away with that as well. So a lot of this is going to be preference to your aim. I would do the same exact thing, start at 0 and then go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the stick drift, and then kind of find that sweet spot that works for you. I play on 3, and anywhere from 0 to 5 is going to really be a good dead zone that you want. So you just want the most responsive right stick because you're going to be controlling, tracking, and everything else with that too. So, and centering, of course, too. So all of that's very, very important if you watched any of my aim guides. So that is what we're rocking on this controller, and every controller will be a little bit different. So even if you're just changing over controllers, maybe 3 dead zones really good on this one, but it might not be good, and I can actually go to 2 or 1, or maybe I have to play a little bit higher. So make sure you get your dead zones locked in. I would not touch my right stick maximum at all. Personally, you do not want to mess with that, just because that can be really weird when you're aiming. And the left trigger and the right trigger dead zones, you are going to want those basically as responsive as possible. You can obviously make these a little bit more delayed if you really, really want to, but I have mine at 0 and I've felt no difference. So you let me know when it comes to that, what you guys want to do. I just like being able to aim in and shoot as fast as possible with no delay, because I feel like that's just kind of common sense. But yeah, let's move on to the aiming settings. For the aiming settings, I don't do anything with the multiplier or the ADS multiplier. If you want, you can go to your ADS multiplier right here, and you can basically mess with that. So if you play on 10-10 sensitivity, but your ADS multiplier was at a 0.7, you do 10 times 0.7, you're going to get your 7 sensitivity while you're ADS, so it feels like you're kind of locking on or slowing down and being a little bit more precise when you're aimed in. Some people play on like 7.7.8, 7.7.85. You can kind of just figure out what works best for you. I personally don't really love that feeling, but every once in a while I try it out. So that's just kind of how that works. I'm just not using it currently to really show you that. And if you go down here to advanced aiming settings, a lot of these are going to be pretty important, meaning the ADS sensitivity transition timing. Make sure that is on instant. I'm pretty sure it defaults at gradual, or at least did for me. So I like having mine on instant because I basically want it to be applied immediately when I'm aiming down my sight and obviously trying to aim at people, which my ADS sensitivity is there. So I don't like having that gradual. I feel like it just adds a little bit of a clunky, delayed, weird feeling. I'm not a big fan of it, so I have mine on instant. And now you're going to see this is a little bit different, and this is going to be a test. So right now, a lot of people are liking linear on Black Ops 6 and Warzone. Dynamic is still really, really good. The two that I would recommend trying out is either dynamic or linear, and I have my slope scale at 1 for both of those. I'm not too sure if I'm going to stick with linear. I'm just trying it out to see. Both of them I've been playing pretty well with, but basically you can see here that in dynamic it says ideal for more experienced players. Faster starting movement that slows down to the aiming rate. So basically you're going to start off snappy, and then you're going to slow down to your true aiming rate. And then linear is going to be more of like the identical aiming rate throughout the entire time. And the aiming stick maps directly to the aiming rate of what you're obviously moving around at. So kind of whatever you feel on that. I don't like standard. I don't like starting slow and then speeding up. I feel like that is just a bad habit to get into for aiming, and it just feels inconsistent. So linear or dynamic, you try them out and you figure it out what works best for you. And then as we move on, you want your target aim assist and your ADS aim assist on at all times, because that is very important. As our newbie controller players know, we need that aim assist, baby. And then motion sensor and all that stuff, we have that off. This is where this can get interesting. I've played over 100 hours of Black Ops 6 already. I am an absolute loser, and I've played so much with the sprint assist delays. You can do 0, or you can do like 1 or 2, because some people claim that if you have it at 0, you kind of get those accidental dives. So if you're accidentally diving a lot, there's a world where your sprint assist delay is kind of messing you up, and you can try 1 or 2. And then I'm coming out with an advanced Omni movement guide that I'll explain that a little bit more. That's just not the proper video for this, but right now sprint aim assist delay for me is at 0 or 2. I kind of go back and forth just testing them out to see what's better. And then your sprint assist sideways and backwards. Your tactical sprint assist is basically your auto tactical sprint from other games. So when you're playing an Omni movement, you want your sprint assist when you just push your left stick forward to tactical sprint forward or tactical sprint sideways. And for the tactical sprint assist, I just got done playing a lot more hours of Warzone, and you can see I'm in different clothes right now. We're doing a re-record of this part of the video because initially I had sprint assist backward off, and especially in multiplayer, I kind of liked it off, especially in the search and destroy. But when I was playing Warzone, I was getting a lot of dead slides, and the reason why I was getting a lot of dead slides is because of the assist backwards being off, and I'm going to explain that right now. Basically, when you're doing the sprint assist left, right, forwards, and all that stuff, you can see that this is my left stick. I'm controlling it right there. If you were to be going sideways sprint assist, you would want to obviously go sideways and start getting that sprint assist or the tactical sprint assist sideways so you can do the Omni movement. With the backwards sprint assist being off, if you went sideways but you started like you were this far down or that far down, it would register as a backwards assist, and you would actually not get that sideways assist. So when you're trying to do any kind of Omni movement, it would be very, very clunky. Now in multiplayer, that's not that big of a deal because a lot of the times you're trying to like pull down behind cover and do kind of the different movements on that sense. But in Warzone, when you need to be really, really fluent, especially with the sliding and the amount of health that you have, and you're trying to finesse your enemy, especially when you have low plates, you really want to make sure that you are as smooth as possible. So if you want less dead slides, I actually recommend turning this on. I started with it today off, and it was just feeling horrible. The more I played, I switched it. It felt really good, and that's why I actually wanted to re-record this part of the video for you guys. And we don't have any mantle assist. We don't have any crouch assist. We don't have corner slicing on. I actually kind of hate corner slicing personally. It doesn't actually affect your aim, but it just makes it kind of awkward when you're corner slicing. I don't even know why this is in the game, to be honest, but regardless, I have that off. And then make sure your slide and dive behavior is hybrid. This is so important, guys. Omni movement is just... this is necessary almost. Those dives need to be as fast as possible. Those slides need to be as fast as possible. If you're playing at a tap the slide or a tap the dive, you're playing at a delay to do the movements, and it's just not going to help you. And then slide only, you can maybe get away with if you really hate diving, but I still recommend hybrid, especially for a lot of the movements that you can do in Warzone. So I play on hybrid, and then as we scroll through here, sprint restore on, slide maintain sprint, I actually like it on in this game. Parachute automatic behavior is off. This is something to get used to so you can get really close to the edge of the building so you can pop that parachute and kind of just be a lot smoother and demon-like on the map. Mantle cancels reload on. I actually haven't tested this setting too much in the sense I've only played a little bit of Warzone so far because it obviously just came out. This hasn't bothered me too much because I actually kind of like that. There is going to be the sprint cancel reload that you want to make sure it's off because it's kind of bugged out right now. But if you really don't like mantling, canceling your reload, again, this is more of a preference. And then the movement advanced settings is going to be right here. So sprint and tactical behavior you want to have on toggle. Auto move forward, I don't have any of this there. This is very important. The tactical sprint activation is going to be double tap at default. If you have it at single tap to run, basically all that means instead of double tapping to get that tactical sprint going, you only have to click your stick in once. It's just a little bit easier and a little bit smoother. So personally, I like having that on, and then sprinting door bash we're going to have on there. Nothing too crazy. And then my vehicle settings right now, I haven't really touched these too much. Nothing too crazy. I do like the new driving mechanics in Warzone, but that's besides the point. And then we are going to go through the combat settings right here. We're going to have tactical stance activation as ADS down. A lot of this is going to be preference on all of that. And then scrolling down, you're going to see that we have armor plate behavior at apply all. And then everything else, we're going to go to combat advanced settings here. And you're going to see this setting right here. So interact reload behavior. Now in multiplayer, you can get away with not using this. I think prioritize interact is the best for fast looting and smooth gameplay feeling in Warzone. So I have prioritized interact on. Very, very important when you just want to tap square while you're looting and picking things up. You're going to be doing a lot of that in Warzone. So that's why we have that setting set to that. And then you were going to see here, sprint cancels reload. So right now in Call of Duty, if you were sprinting and you reload and then you try to sprint while reloading, you will stop reloading. And it is very annoying because in previous Warzones, that wasn't a thing. And it was just a lot smoother of a feeling. So if you want to get rid of that feeling or you're having that bug, especially since it's basically like day 1 or 2 for you guys right now playing Black Ops 6 Warzone, turn this setting off. You can see right here, nothing too crazy. And we're going to keep scrolling down, and that is going to be your controller setting. Now for audio, guys, I am using the Art is War audio, and you can either use the Art is War audio or you can go to FPSHub, and they can do an audio optimization for you as well. They also have very good audio. The only reason why I'm probably not using that audio is just because I actually really like Art is War's audio, and I'm not going to lie to you guys and say that. You can go to Art's audio and get him to do an appointment with you. FPSHub can do that, or you can obviously watch the free video online and do it through that. There's a lot of different ways you can optimize your audio, but regardless of that fact, I'm using Art is War's audio, and I will tell you this, I love Black Ops 6 Warzone. I actually do. I feel that the game feels smooth, and I had a lot of fun. The audio is absolutely terrible right now, so it is not just you that can't hear footsteps. I can basically not hear footsteps, and my theory, and I hope I'm wrong, is that they are trying to get people to get this goddamn enhanced headphone mode and try and buy this thing in the whole, you know, the free trial and whatever. I really hope that's not the case. And one more part for the re-record, I also just played a bunch of Warzone with the enhanced headphone mode on. And then if you go to your headphone configuration, if you scan this QR code in step 1 and then you go to their app and then you do the personalized thing that it kind of tells you, you follow the steps in the email. I spent $20 on this. There is a free trial as well, but I just spent the money just to make sure I have everything kind of properly set up. And it's terrible. I used it. The audio right now is a big problem in the Warzone Black Ops 6 integration, and I really wanted to try this out for a couple hours and give it a fair shake. We just streamed with it for a couple games, and just in general, it didn't feel any better. There is some directional changes, but overall, they need to do a huge overhaul right now with their audio in Warzone. With that being said, I've tried all the audio mixes, and Sucker Punch seems to be the best right now. But yeah, the audio is a struggle right now, so hopefully they do some updates to that, and then we're just going to scroll through this. Nothing too wild there. And then we're going to have one more setting to show you guys through this, and it's going to be the interface stuff. Nothing too crazy in global, but readability is going to be important because it has color customization. Now, color customization, I have my team and my party as green. Party and team is going to be the same thing, so I don't think they need separate colors. And I like green, and then I like the pinkish purple that stands out a little bit more than the red when it comes to enemies, and that's just something that I prefer. You can do a lot of different colors of how you want to set this up, or you can just leave it default. It's kind of really up to you. But regardless of that, you want to go to your color filters, color filter 2, color filter target both, and then the world color intensity at 100 each. This is just going to make the game a little bit more vibrant on top of those NVIDIA control panel settings that I was giving you earlier. And for the final interface settings that are also going to be very important, minimap shape needs to be square. It makes the minimap bigger. And then you want to have your HUD bounds. I have them all the way brought in. Now, the reason why I have them all the way brought in, I explain this every time, but new COD players, listen up because this is very important. You want to be best friends with your minimap. It gives you information, pings of where you're getting shot at, directions of where you're getting shot at, contracts, loot, circle, gas, rotations, buildings. Everything you need to know is going to be on the top left of your screen in your minimap, and you want to bring that as close as possible so the minimap is here instead of up here, because when you're centered on your screen and you're locked in, you want to have the least amount of strain to look up to the left and then back to the center. So I like bringing my HUD all the way back in. It seems kind of subtle or not that big of a deal, but COD is a game of milliseconds, and that can actually help you read the minimap just a little bit faster and just be a little bit more reactive. I bring the HUD bounds all the way in, and then the minimap rotation I have on. Do not turn on the radar. It completely ruins your minimap. I don't know why this is in the game. And then scrolling through here, the crosshair center dot. You can either just have a center dot, which is just going to be that center dot in your screen, and it never kind of leaves your screen. You can turn them off, which is kind of crazy. Or you can have them at static. I wouldn't just have them on. I would have them at static so they are not bobbing. And the static is just going to be right here. You can see you have your 4 crosshairs right there, and they're going to be still in your screen to help you center. Now, a lot of people like to have this on their screen for the hipfire aspect, and some people hate that because it just looks cluttered. So you can kind of go back and forth of whatever works for you. And then one cool thing they actually did add to Warzone is you can actually mess around with your crosshair color this year, which is new. So normally it used to just be white, but if you click show more and then you go down the crosshair color, you can actually make it any one of these colors with the saturations and the brightnesses and all of that. And then you can apply custom color. Mine's like a teal blue right now. It stands out a little bit more. I really, really like this feature. I think it's just really cool that they added this. But again, this is all preference of what you want or what you don't want. So that is going to be the last setting when it comes to interface. And that is going to wrap it up for the settings. Now, I know this was an in-depth video for you guys, but again, I know there's a lot of newcomers that only play Warzone and they didn't see the Black Ops 6 one. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you guys did, like, comment, subscribe to this channel. We have a lot of information coming to you, from settings to movement guides to aiming guides to how to win guides and other stuff that you guys want to see. Leave it in the comments below because I really do appreciate all of the feedback and all the support on this channel. As always though, guys, it's been your boy Crowder, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.